Hello, testing 1, 2, 3. Can you hear me now? My name is Juan Brown, and you're watching the Blanco Lirio channel. It's Wednesday, the 27th of September, and that leaves folks at Oroville just 5 weeks to meet the milestone of having a 100,000 CFS operational spillway in place at Oroville. So let's go up in the mighty Luscombe and see how that progress is going. And here's a quick follow-up on the situation on Lake Oaxaca in Puerto Rico. It looks like the dam, after all, was just fine despite media hysteria to the contrary. The spillway head cutting, however, did cut the irrigation pipes to the historic old canal, which feeds the water to the north and west side of the island. So Puerto Rico, straddled with debt, an already weak and fragile infrastructure, and now 2 hurricanes, has much bigger problems than the dam at Lake Oaxaca.
The H-2 C-130's from the Nevada Air National Guard. My old ship. She's going to the boneyard.
So in order to relieve the humanitarian crisis in Puerto Rico, a huge airlift is underway right now, featuring a lot of C-130's from Guard units all around the nation. So at the end of this video of Oroville, I'll give you a tour of my old H-2 C-130 from the Nevada Air National Guard. She was on display at the Reno National Championship Air Races just earlier this month. Meanwhile, back here at Oroville, with just 5 weeks to go until they have an operational spillway, the lake level is at 715 feet, just 15 feet from their goal. Outflows are about 6,500 CFS, and inflows are just a trickle. We received 4 or 5 inches of snow in the High Sierra late last week, but that's already melted, and the warm temperatures and dry conditions are forecast to continue for the next week or so. We'll get the latest numbers from DWR in their bi-weekly press conference next Wednesday. And more scintillating questions from the media. With 600 employees working in 2 shifts, workers are blowing and going to meet the November 1st deadline. Now let's go down the spillway, take a close-up photograph of each section and compare it to last week and see what kind of progress is being made. Off to the far right, just out of view in this photograph, is the huge spoil pile that came out of the Thermalito diversion pool and is the primary source of aggregate for the RCC. You can see they've used up quite a bit of that, but there still appears to be plenty left. Here's the emergency spillway and sea cant cutoff wall, and it looks like they got the power lines down off the shoe fly connection. So the power has been rerouted around the spillway and the emergency spillway for the Hyatt power plant. There's the old shoe fly wooden power poles. And there's the sea cant cutoff wall. So now they can get the drills in place to finish up work on the sea cant cutoff wall. Again, not due until January. Upper portion of the spillway still looks the same as this is original and won't get replaced until next year, just getting lots of new rock bolts. Here's what I call the area of unauthorized blasting section from last week, just finishing up the leveling concrete, and this week looks like they've got all the leveling concrete done and a few more slabs in place and some more of the spillway wall forms getting formed up. By point of reference, here's what this section looked like back on 18 August. Last week, the last portion of the upper spillway looked like this, just one wall poured and no slabs placed in the middle of the spillway. This week looks like they've got slabs going in the middle of the spillway and several wall sections formed. The white on the wall sections is a white paint to prevent the concrete from curing too fast. And the wood forms used on these wall sections are reusable. At the end of this section, it looks like they've gone ahead and poured or placed the concrete cutoff wall. where the RCC will begin. Here's the main plunge pool today, where it looks like they're starting a brand new 12-inch lift. And here's what it looked like last week. And they're up to about here right now. And you can also see a big difference in the RCC walls on the right. And here's what the main plunge pool looked like back on 18 August. And here's where they are today. A lot of material. So let's go forward in time now. Here's 18 August, 20 September, and today. So at this rate, I think the math is going to work for a 1 November deadline, as the RCC walls have already spread across the deepest part of the hole and are going to start getting narrower again, reducing the area size that they have to work with and increasing the rate of lift of RCC. And shown in blue here is that recently placed concrete cutoff wall between the structural concrete section and the RCC section, and will also have an aeration feature in order to prevent cavitation. And here's the rest of the RCC section, spanning the lower plunge pool with some new hydro seating going off to the right side. And here's the RCC section from last week. And the final structural portion of the lower spillway this week, getting some of the center panels done, and what this portion looked like last week with hardly any of the center panels in place. And the two holding ponds and dredging continuing below the spillway this week. Now this is the gated water temperature controlling inlet system to the Hyatt power plant, which bottoms out at about a lake elevation of 640 feet. So as the lake gets lower, they're going to have to use a combination of this and the river valve outlet system, which was recently repaired and is located in the bottom of the original old diversion tunnels here at the base of the dam. In order to keep the water temperature nice and cool in the Feather River, because the salmon fishing season this season in the Feather is red hot. Where's your fishing license, Pee-wee? California Combat Salmon Fishing on the Feather River at the Thermalito After Bay Discharge. Back to the barn in the mighty Luscombe with a wheel landing demo where you pin the main wheels on the runway and hold the tail off. A little less gusty than the previous day. At some point you want to get the tail wheel back on the ground, as you're pretty vulnerable to crosswinds with the tail up. Now, as promised, a quick tour of the C-130 cockpit from my old ship at the Reno National Championship Air Races, Nevada Air National Guard. Welcome to the old 1979 E model here from the Reno Air National Guard High Rollers fleet. This aircraft is going to be around for one more month and then replaced by a later model, H3, right, Josh?
H3.
H3. So this is the last of the old steam-powered C-130's, and I got a few hours in this one. Been about 10 years ago. Quick show you around here. Here's all the engine instruments right here. And engines, hydraulics, and electrics all taken care of up here.
79, yep.
Here's what I was talking about, the throttles on the C-130. You basically run the engines in just about 100% RPM all the time with the props in the flight mode, and when you move the throttles, you're adjusting the power via the props. So that gives you almost instant power with no spool up time like you normally associated with an old jet. Because this is so complicated, that's why we still have a flight engineer's position right here. The flight engineer takes care of all this complicated stuff so the pilots can concentrate on these old steam-powered gauges right here.
Oh, there you go. Wave to your mom.
Great visibility.
There you go.
This has also station keeping equipment for flying formation. That's this scope and that equipment over there behind the young lad. There's the computer to put it all in over there.
You're a little short.
Hydraulics all taken care of over there. Nose wheel steering right here.
That's how they fly it, Jacob. That's the steering wheel there.
So this is yellow.
4 fans of freedom right out there. Here's your spacious galley, coffee, trash right there. Lots of radio equipment down in there. Behind the co-pilot is the navigator station back here.
My dad worked for
And crew rest facilities here
They're still making these.
and down here. The navigator's sextant port right there. Pop your boiled eggs through there.
He's told us lots of stories.
And you can put a bubble up here and actually shoot the stars.
Kind of draws like this back and forth. Got our altimeter, so our altitude.
So we'll be
right
saying goodbye to this ship at
Airspeed?
the end of this month. It's going to the Davis-Monthan Boneyard and may have a second life after that. We'll see.
Hey, Jacob, we got this one.